Good evening, comrades. This is part two of The Snare of the Fowler, and I will pick up where I left off. And we said that there's a system devised, whether it's through legislation or through litigation, that some of these fowlers, these men who set traps, and these people, these systems who set traps to entrap our brothers and keep them at a disadvantage throughout their life, struggling for justice, struggling. So a lot of our brothers have opted into crime and have decided to go that way. Even if the system had nothing to do with it whatsoever, will these brothers still make these choices? Maybe, maybe not. Is their incarceration justified? Sometimes, many times not. Okay? But when you go against the system and you do things unlawfully, the system has reprisals for us that they will bring us in for questioning. But we have to wonder, what is it about a system as great as, say, the United States, who's supposed to be the land of opportunity, the land of the free, the home of the brave, justice, where justice is supposed to be indivisible, with liberty for all. And you see that mainly is not the case, because you have brothers who have not broken the law or have not lived a life of crime, who have not decided to go into the underworld, to have a cartel, to do black on black violence. You have those kind of men out there that may have found some kind of out in their education, and that education gave them a little bit of padding to survive. They may have been able to get the money to go to school. Some other guys have rejected that and decided to live the life of the street, and they get the consequences of that. But at the same time, you still have the predatory system that enables many of our brothers making these decisions, because there's a tightrope life, and you don't feel like the system is doing you right. I'll give you a personal example, and this is just a part of my own testimony. But I was a young man, like 18, 19. I had decided to join the ranks of the reserve forces, and I did some military training at one time, and I was very Bible-toting Christian dude, doing as good as I could do compared to my brothers that are in the struggle. I was doing pretty well, not having a whole lot of run-ins with police, law enforcement, trying to keep my nose clean, keep myself right, keep myself moral, keep myself upright, be a man of God, a child of God. I just say a child of God at the time, and I still experienced so many artificial barriers that kept frustrating my efforts to move up through the system, whether it was through the ranks of the military or whether it was through the housing administration of some jobs that I've had. I've always seemed to have that oppressor's foot on my neck. And it's not something that is just imagined. It's very real. And it's so frustrating that you may want to box your supervisor. You may want to take him outside the door and knock his head off. You might, and as a Christian, with all the teachings, you still come face to face, toe to toe with these racist situations. And just because you convert to a life to serve God doesn't mean that your situation as a black male in a racist society is going to cease. So you have to continue that battle, but this time you got your Lord with you, and God's with some of these other men, even though they haven't committed to God yet. But because God is on the side of righteous, God is on the side of doing people right. So you're on the side of God when you want to do right. And even when you do wrong, that Lord is merciful. But he doesn't want us to be skilled with two hands in evil. He wants us to learn from our faults. But man, the system is designed to such a point that you get frustrated with all the obstacles that are placed in your path, that if you don't have a sense of collective catharsis, which is a term I get from my brother Frantz Fanon, which is a French psychiatrist that came out of Europe that talked a lot about oppression of blacks back in the days. Frantz Fanon said that collective catharsis is something like if you have a steam pot that builds up steam and you have the release valve that lets some of that steam off, the kettle stays regulated and it doesn't explode. But when you don't have a collective catharsis, an outlet for the pressures that the system is putting on you, you build up a sense of intolerance to the point where you cannot be easy to get along with even your own brother. So you might crack his head, or you might kill that brother over something like $5 or 5 CDs or whatever you want to call it, 5 naira, 5 francs. Whatever the case is, and it wasn't about the 5 francs. It wasn't about the $5. It wasn't about the 5 CDs. It wasn't about the 5 pounds. It was about the buildup of frustration over the years that you just went off on a brother. You went there. And the brother's dead now. The brother might have crossed you, and you unleashed all that wrath on that brother that was collected from all those situations from the past. And see, social scientists know this. They know this. So that's why you have to have a system that's conducive, or an environment that's conducive for the flourishing and for the dormant qualities, as my brother Malcolm X said, the dormant qualities of a person to be stirred so that they can come to fruition and so that they can begin to do things creative with their lives. But because the white man's insecurities are so notorious, he has to make sure that he maintains the top. So he's going to do everything to keep that brother from being a potential threat, because he's already a threat. And I'm going to tell some of you sisters out here that always talk about you a double minority. Especially in America, you hear all that crap about I'm a woman and I'm black. And don't be overweight. They'll put that in there. Don't be dark skinned. They'll put that in there too. I'm tired of you, sisters, trying to say that your situation is worse because you're looking at it from a position of economics alone and talking about you should be able to have the same wage. Sure, you should have the same wage if you qualify for it. We're not going to argue that. But you don't pose the same threat in anywhere in the world at any time as this brother or this man imposes a threat when he has a tendency to rise to the occasion and do something about the situation. He is more the threat, even if he's a 2-year-old male that hasn't even become a man. He's a threat. You can find that out in the book of Exodus, and you can find that out in the Gospels when they try to kill the baby Jesus. They try to kill Moses and his other peers. Wipe out a whole generation of male peers. Why would they let the woman or the female preserve her? Because she poses not the same threat. So don't give me this crap about you a double minority. That's all political. That's in your head. Because what you need to do is get behind your man and get behind your sons and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. You don't work against him. We will get on this in another time. You get that Negro put your foot in his behind to get out there and do the fight that he's supposed to be fighting. And don't be pressuring him to go out in the street to get you some fur, to commit a crime, to get you some fur coat to keep you happy. Because then that means you're just a woman of Satan. You're just a child of the devil because you let your man go out and do these wicked things to keep you happy. And then this brother got to go to jail. I don't know. I'm not going to say that's the case every time, but I'm just giving this as an example. Let me look at this time on here because I don't want to get in. We're going to get into these type of things down the road. But anyway, these brothers make these choices and then got the snare of the fowler out here. Now, I'm not even saying a whole lot about the fowler because I'm talking about all the issues that are surrounding a man making, a boy or man making good choices. And then you got a system that don't even love him. Okay, and then you got a woman that won't even support him because she's fighting. She's looking for something for self, while he's sitting up here trying to do something not only for himself but for his community. You know what? Okay, so that's what a man does. God has put man on this earth to regulate it, to control it, to subdue it, and to produce things that are better for everybody to maneuver through life peacefully. And if he's not in that position, he's been wickedly maneuvered into another position by men, insecure men. So these are the fights that we're fighting. And some of the sources that I want to point you to that'll go and give you a lot more information is, like I said, the book called Black Revolts, Racial Stratification by Joseph Scott. That's a very good one. There's another one that's called Black Separatism in the USA by, what's that brother's name? Let me see if I got it right here. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I don't want to waste a lot of time here as my time is running out. I got about 3 minutes. What is that? His name is right here on my back of my head. I can't pull it up. Black separatism, I just remember, Raymond Hall. Raymond Hall. These are both sociologists. So I want you to check out their book. And that Black separatism talks about a lot of strategies that Black organizations have tried to use to counter the racial stratification of the power structure, mainly dominated by the European white, in order to survive. And a lot of those times, those organizations are demonized or they're neutralized by agents. And so, because they pose a threat to the existing power structure that is white privilege. So, even the whites cannot, the average white that agrees with us cannot combat it as well. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, going back to my Fowler, in the book of Psalms 124 verses 6 through 8, it talks about the bird being caught in a trap or a net, fish being caught, or a gazelle or something being caught in the snare of the fowler. And it says, and I believe it's in verse 6 of one of those, it says, my enemies are able to swallow me alive. Swallow me alive. Let not them swallow me alive. That sounds like a crocodile, a Komodo dragon, or a snake. Swallow something alive. Swallow. Deep. Most humans want their meals killed and filleted and cleaned, whatever, and served. But a snake and a lion, a predator, they like their meals live. They eat you live. Arms, legs, guts. Just barbaric. And so he's equating the attacks that he gets from his enemy. It says right here in verse 3 of Psalms 124, they would have swallowed us alive. When their wrath is kindled against us, when men rose up against us, if the Lord had not been on our side. I have to conclude here and pick up in part 3. Peace, love, hotel.